Your job title may be the least useful explanation of what you actually know how to do. It tells people where an organization placed you. It tells them maybe what department you worked in. It may give them a general idea of the tasks that you perform, but it most certainly does not necessarily reveal the problems that you solved or the decisions that you made or who trusted you, right? And this is an issue for, people with a lot of experience. Okay? I'm going to say 20 plus years of building your career. That distinction matters because your title may make you employable while at the same time making you invisible. Okay? Let me try to explain it this way. At one point in my career, I worked as an e-discovery contractor, okay? Now, if you heard that title without knowing anything else, you might assume that I was responsible for gathering documents, organizing files, responsible maybe for requests from opposing counsel. In other words, you might have assumed that I was just a typical worker bee, someone who received a set of instructions and completed my task. That's it. But that was not the job at all. I was actually responsible for managing the e-discovery process from end to end. And I led a team that fluctuated between 15 and 20 people. We were managing requests coming from outside counsel of more than 50 plaintiffs. It was a 24/7 operation, 12-hour shifts mandatory. Urgent, last-minute requests was the norm. A single request could involve thousands of hours of audio review, thousands of digital documents having to be reviewed, organized, bait stamped, prepared, delivered, confidential delivery in a short period of time. Okay. High production levels were not exceptional in my department. It was the norm. It was expected. Okay. But the work was anything but just merely producing documents. It required logistics. It required understanding virtually every part of the operation. It required deciding how people and time and technology was going to be organized to meet the demand. It required maintaining the extreme confidentiality and working under tremendous pressure. It required managing the emotional well-being of the team to keep them working at such a high level, okay? And most of my team was recent law school grads who didn't land the positions that they wanted, that they had worked for, that they passed the bar for. And then I had administrative people, word processors, court reporters, okay? But meanwhile, I didn't have a law degree. I didn't have a degree. And that confused people. They did not understand why are JDs the majority of the team and they are reporting to someone who doesn't even have a JD or a degree. They did not understand why the team was structured so differently from a traditional large litigation discovery department. And they certainly didn't expect the person whose title was contractor to understand their positions, their jobs, okay, that could sit at their desk. But that was me. That was me. The person that I reported to gave me something that a lot of people don't get on jobs. I was given the space. I was given the space to take complicated situations and come up with solutions. And I was trusted to determine the logistics and organize the work and keep the operation going. And I was trusted to get a high level of commitment from my team to keep confidentiality as the center point. I had been given that amount of responsibility and autonomy and support and confidence. I had never received that before. And I know it's not common. And I rose to the occasion. Okay. And that experience alone is what allowed me to really understand my full capabilities. It also allowed me to see how often other people's assumptions can prevent those capabilities from ever being recognized. Now, by the third year, our department was so successful that I was giving other law firm professionals tours of our operation and explaining our structure. Now, I want you to think about that. I want you to think about the distance between the two descriptions. On paper, I was a discovery contractor, e-discovery contractor, but in practice, I was managing a high-pressured, round-the-clock litigation operation, e-discovery operation, right? I was designing the workflows, solving the logistical problems, leading the people, all different backgrounds, maintaining performance under extreme deadlines, earning the commitment from my team under pressure. I was helping to operate a structure that other legal professionals came to study now. So my title, I'm going to say, was accurate, but I'm going to say it was just completely insufficient to describe my value. Okay. So the issue that most professionals have is describing their value. Your job title may describe your position, but it certainly most of the time doesn't describe your value. You may be called a project manager, but that's not your value. You may be called a trainer, but that's not your value. Maybe you know how to take complicated technology and break it down into bite-sized pieces so people understand it. You may be called a admin professional, but that's not your value. You may be really good in communicating with leadership. You may be a customer service manager, but you know how to recognize problems before they start costing the company money. The title tells us where you were assigned. Your experience is what tells people what you learned and what you recognize, and that's where the meat is. Okay. And it's certainly not the same thing. So this becomes especially important when you begin asking what you could do outside of your current role. Because most people immediately look at their resume and their title and they look at their job description and then they search for something similar just with a slightly higher salary. And that may sound reasonable, but it's not going to serve you well going forward. Okay. And it's certainly not gonna help you gain portable income. If you want to understand the full value of your experience, you gotta look beneath the title. You gotta start asking, what did people consistently trust me to handle? What became easier because I was there? What problems were brought to me most frequently? What could I recognize that most other people around me couldn't see? Okay. What changed because I was in the room? Those questions reveal something a list of duties cannot reveal. They reveal evidence. Evidence is where your market value begins. Your market value is not simply the number of years you've worked. It's what those years taught you. Okay. The judgment and accuracy of your value. It's the problems that you recognize before someone else. Okay. The mistakes that you can prevent, the decisions that you know how to make. It's about the outcome, essentially. Okay. And this is why so many experienced professionals struggle when they're asked a very simple question. What can you do outside of your employer? They know they have experience. They know they have accomplished important things. They know people rely on them, but all that value is still buried in their title and in their employer. It's buried all up under that muck of the organization. And the market cannot buy what it cannot see and what it cannot understand. This is what I call a portable expertise gap. It's the distance between having valuable experience and being able to clearly recognize and explain it and apply it to how you're going to have to function going forward and how and what you're going to have to do to have portable income. Now, closing that gap doesn't mean you got to suddenly quit your job. It doesn't mean you got to suddenly become an entrepreneur, but it does mean that you're going to have to throw away some old habits and you're going to have to reinvent how you see yourself and how you're talking about yourself. It means that you got to understand that your current employer is only one environment. The title belongs to them. Leave it with them. All that experience that you've gleaned is yours. Everything you've learned is yours. The lessons that you've learned is yours. The ability to do everything that you know how to do is yours. Okay. But before that expertise can become portable, you have to learn how to see it outside of the boundaries of that employer. So here is your first move. I want you to choose one meaningful accomplishment from your career. And please don't begin with your title. Don't begin with your job description. Don't give a lot of tasks, a list of tasks that AI can do. I want you to kind of ask these kind of questions. What was the problem? What did you do? What that required your judgment? What changed because you were there? That's just the beginning of translating your experience into some real tangible evidence. And once you can see the evidence, you can begin making better decisions about where your expertise can take you. Okay. Now, we can keep talking about this, video after video after video. But the work, there's a lot of work that has to go into this. This is why I developed the authority graph, quite honestly. I started out doing this one-on-one with people, and I would spend a few hours in a meeting and then quadruple the amount of time to try to develop something for them. Okay. Because you can certainly take the authority graph and run. I made it purposely so you have something to run with. Okay. If you want to have a strategy session with me afterwards, I'm available for you, but you have enough from that authority graph to take it and run. Okay. The authority graph helps experienced professionals uncover the value that's hidden up under your titles and your accomplishments and all your years of experiences. And it helps to turn that into some information where you understand you have a clearer point of view of your career and where the revenue is. You know, let me say this. If you have ever thought you know you have valuable experience, but you don't quite know what you could sell beyond a 9 to 5, the authority graph is built for that question. I shouldn't even exclude it to just 9 to 5 because it'll direct you in that path as well. The point I want you to make and what I'm trying to get across to you right now in this moment is that your title is not the full story of your value. It never was. I want you to recognize that. I want you to recognize it clearly, okay? And let's go from there, all righty? And in my next video, we're going to examine another important distinction. We're going to examine your experience as evidence, okay? And so we'll take this conversation a step further in the next video.